One of my favorite tips that I use mostly with women, because sometimes the only time as women we get time to ourselves is when we're in the bathroom. So whether that's at work or at home, whatever it is, that if taking those small moments instead of thinking of the next thing you've got to do and being in that mindset that on your bathroom breaks, what if you just connected with your breath? Just took a couple deep breaths and just really just took that minute and a half potty break for yourself, right? Not just biologically in relieving yourself, but of just quieting the mind. It can help really then refocus of going back into your day.
Welcome back to PCOS Unfiltered, where we ditch the one-size-fits-all advice. I'm Lindsay, nurse turned health coach, author of Healing Beyond the Diagnosis, and mindful eating advocate. Here, we go beyond the diagnosis so you can start understanding the messages behind your symptoms. Now, before we get into today's guest, I wanted to let you all know that I am looking for 10 ladies to help me up-level my offerings so I can better serve you and get you the results that you desire. Be sure to check the show notes for the link to book a quick call with me and grab your freebie. Today, my guest is Tanya Ward. Tanya works with midlife women exiting survival mode caregiving, and after 25 years in the wellness space, she identified a pattern. Chronic responsibility reshapes stress physiology, and clarity doesn't return until the nervous system feels safe again. She leads a structured 6-month recalibration process grounded in nervous system science, helping women stabilize, interrupt stress patterns, and rebuild sustainable energy. As a reminder, the content shared here on PCOS Unfiltered is for informational and educational purposes only. The views and opinions expressed by the host and guests are not intended to serve as medical advice. Always consult with a qualified healthcare professional before making any changes to your diet, exercise, or treatment plan. The information shared is based on personal experience and expert interviews and is not a substitute for professional medical guidance. Now settle in, maybe get ready to take some notes, and let's dive in. Here is my conversation with Tanya Ward. What makes your recalibration process different from traditional coaching or healing?
Well, the first and foremost is that we start with the nervous system. We look at that and we are about lighting issues. Hold on a second. Something just happened. There we go. Really of allowing healing to unfold at the level of which the person is needing to go to. So we're not forcing anything. I have a roadmap that is not a linear roadmap usually, and it's about pulling in what my client needs at that time. So allowing for that, that's different. Starting with the root cause and then layering on the mindset work once there is the opening for that, and really staying true to that process of one step at a time and not skipping over and not bypassing of, oh, well, we're not going to look at this. I don't need to deal with this. Let's just move on here. But instead of pulling back and working through it at the pace of what's right for the person without re-engaging that nervous system.
Yeah. Now you work with men and women. I've talked about this before a little bit too, but we as women, I feel like we're so, go, do all the things, take care of everybody. So like, what are some of the differences that you might see even, in working with women, versus men?
So I work mostly with women. I'm always surprised of the men who come to me that after going through some of my content and doing the research, they still say, yes, I want to work with you. So before I work with anybody, we always have a conversation. I take them through a stress mapping session to bring awareness around how they're responding to different areas of their life and to see if my work is even a good fit for them. And what I have found, so you asked what the differences are. I have seen the same things in men, but I don't know how to articulate this super clearly. So bear with me on this because it's a different tone, it's a different energy that, and maybe it's coming from the the culture of men, of how that is how it takes on a different lens than I think it does for women. Of there, and with women, definitely this implied energy of you need to do these things to be successful. You need to do these things to work your way through. Oh, and by the way, you've got to do all these other things as well and just do it all. Where I think there's been some division of that in culture where maybe men aren't necessarily responsible for everything. I know that's a generalized statement, but when you look back, it's like what was coming in was, 50s and 60s culture of definite roles of what men were responsible for, what women are responsible for. And that has meshed. But really, what I think is that women have just taken on even more of it, right? So we all have those afflictions and all have those chronic stress patterns. But I think that lineage piece that's been passed down from mothers and aunts all the way down the line, that what's been modeled then really ingrains in us of what's, we're taught what's a good girl and how to be a polite and this and that. All of those conditioning layers that come into that, I think, is a whole topic of whole 2 hour topic on itself. I won't go too much
Oh,
into
I'm
that.
sure. Yeah, I mean, it's just like, we can still have some kind of traumas even that are like passed down, generation to generation. And I feel like that, can kind of play a role. Same thing, just all these expectations and like, so the conditioning that gets passed down, over time. And now we're in this changing world where you do have more stay-at-home dads and, the man is maybe taking care of other things that they normally didn't do in past times. And yeah, it's just always interesting because I feel like we as women don't prioritize ourselves like we should. I think it's getting better, but we're still just kind of ingrained a little bit to like take care of everybody else before we take care
Yeah,
of ourselves, but we don't always
absolutely.
realize that we need to take care of ourselves first in order to do all these other things.
Yep. And I love that you touched on that because I do see this shift that is happening. And I think in the next year, 2 years, there's going to be an even bigger cultural shift around that, that's going to help facilitate women's care overall. And I think overall, men and women of really just slowing the hell down. Like, taking
Yeah.
time to enjoy a moment, and you don't have to rush through everything. So I think that's on the horizon too.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. I think we're seeing the effects of all of that. My husband and I were in Sedona over the weekend. Like we had plans, like not definite plans, but we talked about like doing some things. But we literally just were in the moment and we just got to sit there and enjoy the beautiful views and watch the sunrise and your body needs that sometimes, and I hope more people recognize that it's okay to give yourself permission even to do that, because some people don't feel like they either deserve it or they should be doing that, and your body needs that.
Yeah. Well, and I think too is finding those moments within our day-to-day lives, right? It's awesome to be able to take time away and have that condensed reset like you had. But even because I think that there's seasons for that, right? Most
Yeah.
of us probably can't be on vacation all the time. I know I don't want
Yeah.
to be on vacation
Mm-mm.
all the time because I love the work that I do anyway. But of finding those times of just quieting down, like today, I had a busy morning before coming on and chatting with you. And I had this moment of, oh, I got to hurry. I got to hurry. It's like, well, why do I have to hurry? Like, I knew I had enough time, but there was this little mechanism in the back telling me I had to pack up my stuff quicker. I had to drive quicker. I had to walk quicker. As if that's going to give me really any more extra time, right? And instead, it just made my brain busier. It maybe added to a little of anxiety with it. I was like, what happens if I just slow down and I just say, no, I'm not going to do it? And so that's what I did. The world didn't collapse. Nothing major happened. And
Exactly.
I showed up the same.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the other important thing too, is being able to say no, or being able to, to know your schedule, and yes, like, you're probably similar. Like, I have the flexibility to control my schedule, and I understand a lot of people don't, but you still need to find a time to work in some self-care. Yes, like you said, on a daily basis. Because over time it will add up. It will will come back to haunt you.
Yeah, one of my favorite tips that I use mostly with women, because sometimes the only time as women we get time to ourselves is when we're in the bathroom. So whether that's at work or at home, whatever it is, that if taking those small moments instead of thinking of the next thing you've got to do and being in that mindset, that on your bathroom breaks, what if you just connected with your breath? Just took a couple deep breaths and just really just took that minute and a half potty break for yourself, right? Not just biologically in relieving yourself, but of just quieting the mind. It can help really then refocus of going back in to your day. And if you've done that 3, 4, 5 times throughout the day, well, it's probably more than what you had been doing as well. So I think being able to weave these things in and not making them huge rituals, because for so many of us, time is a big factor. I don't have time. I've got to go do this. I don't have enough time in between this and that. That if we can just soften a little bit, slow down just a smidge, and be able to pull some of these mindful body connections in throughout the day, I think can go a long way to lowering that stress response and start to recalibrate the nervous system a little bit too.
Yeah. And I don't know if this is something you do with your clients. I've done it before with mine, is even taking a step back to kind of evaluate where you are spending your time. Like you kind of mentioned, you don't want to add more to the list, like, oh, now I got to actually track where I am spending my time. But if they actually take a moment to reflect on that, I feel like a lot of the times they're going to discover, oh my gosh, I just spent, 30 minutes that I didn't have already on, scrolling on social media or whatever it is. So just kind of becoming aware of that, I think, is important too, to understand, okay, yeah, that's the time I could actually be devoting to like breath work and, being in the moment instead of looking at something that could be causing more stress.
Absolutely. Yeah. I
Mhm.
think doing little time audits is a great way to see where you can squeeze some of those things in. And also with that is prioritizing, right? Those other things. So if, for the social media scrolling, if it's a matter of connecting with your people and you want to check in and see what they're doing, right? Like, so you have that for 5 minutes, right? Put a
Yeah.
limit on it, because your health and your needs are just as important, or that's, that connection need is important too, but then you also need this other part of it. So I think prioritizing is part of that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. What shifts for a woman when she moves out of chronic bracing and into this nervous system stability?
Oh, I love that question. I think the first things that happen is in that softening, in that relaxation, that that energy starts to come back in. That instead of being exhausted at the end of the night and just collapsing, and maybe instead of reaching for a glass of wine just because it's just that one thing to help relax a little bit more, that there's energy left over at the end of the day where everything isn't exhausting. Another thing I see is women having better boundaries. They're okay with saying, no, I can't take this on, or no, this isn't going to feel right for me to go to this event or whatever that is. So I think that's a big part. And as we start to honor our own energy and our own needs, then that creates a positive cycle, that feedback loop, that we feel good because we did this and then we can do it again, right? So it starts to really reinforce those patterns. And she definitely taps into her intuition more than what she has before, because there's that clarity with the stress hormones that have quieted down. Now that clarity can come in where she's listening to her body of, oh, what was that thing I just felt when somebody said this? Oh, that was a tightening here. Well, let's get curious about that, because now the brain's not, hey, we got to be in, we're not safe. We can't think about these other things. So I think really coming into their intuition in such a beautiful way is one of my favorite effects of it. And the other thing that I see is joy returning in those small moments of just, hearing the bird chirp out of the window going, oh, that's how lovely is that, versus, oh, okay, I hear it and we're just moving on through the day.
Yeah.
But in just really simple ways. I think joy doesn't have to be these big moments and these big things, that it can just be from having a conversation with somebody and really connecting with them and having the joy in that way. So that allow all of that recalibration, I think, gives a nice structure and foundation for all of these things to come in. And once again, they start to create that positive cycle and patterns.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, with what I do, like the first 2 weeks of my 90-day program, do some super simple nervous system stuff, obviously not to the length that you do, but we do start with breath work. But of course, I'm tying it around food. So when they're taking those deep breaths before they eat, they're actually like taking a minute to recognize what they're putting in their bodies, but then also how they're feeling, afterwards, and things that they're recognizing. Like you said, they're actually hearing the bird chirping now. So similar, kind of to what I do, with only it's with food. Now they're recognizing, oh my gosh, that made me feel really bad. I have no energy now, after I ate that, because they actually took a minute to recognize it, slow the nervous system a little bit before they have that meal.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, nourishing a different part of you as you're taking in nourishment to, yeah, build that awareness. I love that. Thank you. Thank you for doing that work. It's so big.
If someone listening recognizes themselves in this conversation, what would you say would be a good first step toward them rebuilding safety in their body?
So I would say the first steps would be to find those little moments throughout the day that you can weave in. Like those are the baby steps that you can take. And that starts to signal to the nervous system, it's okay to let it down. And once you start to build on that, you've got a pattern that's forming, that positive cycle again. And I'm a big fan of my private podcast that I have that helps start to recognize those patterns of chronic stress and that hypervigilance and how it shows up in midlife. In that, I have reflection prompts and some other tips as well. And you can find that on my website, soulfulheartalchemy.com. At the top is podcasts. Yeah, take a listen. And I think that's a really great way of starting that process of well, instead of scrolling for a half an hour on social media that's
Yes.
fueling your cortisol and your stress. Take a break and listening to more nourishing things like your podcast and mine, that I think really start to give those first steps for a shift.
Yeah. Awesome. I mean, this has been a great conversation. Anything we missed? Anything you think
I
we
don't
missed?
think so. I'm sure there is. I mean, it's a topic that we could talk on probably for hours, as there's so many different layers. But yes, our attention spans are only so much for chatting and for listening to. So
Yes.
I honor that.
Well, thank you so much. You mentioned your website. Is there another good way for people to connect with you, whether that is on social media or anything else, or you just send it right to your website?
Yep, you can check out my website. It has my social links on there, everything else. And
Awesome.
if you wanted to check out the podcast, there's an email form if you wanted to reach out to me as well. So that's the easiest way.
Great. Love it. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing your knowledge, for being here with me. I really, really appreciate it. And I think our listeners will too. So thank you very much.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me, and thank you for doing the work that you do. And it definitely contributes to that holistic health and holistic well-being, that we're not just looking at parts that are disconnected that we have to pull in and care for ourselves, that it all pulls in and weaves in nicely. So thank you so much.
That was an amazing conversation with Tanya. I'll be sure to link everything in the show notes if you'd like to connect with her, in addition to how to book a quick call with me so I can be sure that I'm offering the programs and events that align with what you desire, along with the opportunity to grab my mindful eating guide. If you loved this episode, make sure to subscribe and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because remember, healing doesn't come from doing more, it comes from understanding better. I am sending you so much love, and I'll see you on the next episode of PCOS Unfiltered. Nourish, Heal, Thrive.